Welcome to A Few Thoughts About, the show where we dig into thinking and how it shapes our experience of life. Each week, I share insights and observations to get you thinking. No long lectures, just quick, thought-provoking episodes to shift perspectives so that you can make the change you want to make. Let's get into it. Hey, before we get going, I want to invite you to something really special, and I'm super excited to talk about this, but my good friends, Sam Goldfinch, Ellie Crow, and I are doing a totally free holiday coaching group. It's called A Christmas Present and Sober. Get it? That's cute, huh? And you can access it totally for free in the link in the show notes. Over the month of December, we're going to have regular group coaching calls where we can talk about the things that are standing in our way. We can talk about the successes. We can talk about the stumbling blocks. We can talk about how we're feeling. This time of year isn't always easy, especially if you're either newly alcohol-free, working to become alcohol-free, or frankly, even just a human. So if you want to go through this time of year with a group of people who are doing their best to make it as amazing as possible, and you want to talk about it, check out the link in the show notes. It is free group coaching for the entire month of December. No strings attached. Just come and join us. Let's have a conversation. Check it out in the notes. Let's start the show. Well, hello there, and welcome to A Few Thoughts About the Holidays, Part 4, Projection. Friends, we made it. This is the last in my 4-part series about the holidays. I'm actually repeating this from last year. I got a lot of positive feedback when I did this last year, so I wanted to put it here to talk about it as well. So far, and by the way, if you haven't listened to the first 3, please go back and do so. We have talked about connection. We have talked about protection, right? Getting through these holidays. We have talked about reflection, thinking back on what made this special and trying to bring that with us going forward. And now I want to talk about the idea of projection, right? So this is coming out about halfway through December in 2025. So it might be a little bit early to start talking about this, but actually I think now is a great time to be thinking about it. So one of the things that is so incredible about this time of year, right, is all of this celebration and this getting together and this connecting and the feel-good nature of it. But right around the corner, we have January. We have this time of year that is marked by new beginnings, which is a wonderful idea. And often included in those new beginnings are changes that we want to make in our lives, right? New Year's resolutions. A lot of times we get through this time, we get to this time of year and we're like, oh my God, shit's so hectic. In January, I'm going to, fill in the blank, right? I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to sleep more, read more, whatever it might be for you. And what's funny to me is that we spend so much time sort of pushing off these challenges, what we view as challenges, right? Pushing off these ideas to the point where we do that and then the time is here. We're like, oh shit, I got to quit drinking now. Oh man, I said I was going to do this. And then we push it off again. So one of the things I like to do is bring it up a little bit early. And in this case, it is, right? This podcast is coming out almost 3 weeks. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 weeks before the end of the year. And I'm bringing up for a good reason, because a lot of what we do when we talk about New Year's and like pushing it off and all of this stuff, and it feels good, right? New year, new you, all that stuff. It tends to sneak up on us, right? And it's a method of innocently, it's a method of sort of kicking the can down the road so I don't have to worry about it right now. But I'm going to suggest not that you worry about it, but that you think about it, because thinking about it can make a huge difference. So what does this have to do with projection, right? Sometimes dealing with whatever it is you're dealing with, right? Going through these difficult times in your life, it gives you incredible opportunities to get a sense of how your brain works. So I'm going to talk about this specifically from the aspect of quitting drinking, although this can apply to any sort of change you want to make. This time of year for most of us is very busy. There's a lot going on. This time of year for most of us is also pretty emotional, right? stress, time pressure, anxiety, all of that stuff. And including, by the way, for a lot of us, this can be a sad or a difficult time of year. All of these things I'm mentioning, these are all things that can be triggers for behaviors we don't want to exhibit. Meaning, like all of these things can be something that we will have to deal with as a trigger. And so what's so great about the holiday season is not that you have to do any of it. I'm not asking you to do it early or anything like that, but I'm asking you to watch, right? Watch what is happening. Watch what happens when you get stressed. Watch what happens when you get angry at, Uncle Tom's political opinions at Christmas dinner. Like, watch what happens when you feel time pressure. Watch this stuff. And then I want you to project that feeling into the future and like, okay, what am I going to do in January when I get mad about political opinions at a dinner? What am I going to do in February when I'm feeling stressed? And the incredible thing about this is that by doing this now, by thinking through it now, you can plan, you can come up with ideas, you can do all types of things that you don't have to do in the moment. And this is huge. One of the things that I do when I work people through a coaching process one-on-one, no matter what it is we're changing, is we talk about what happens when the chips are down, like when the shit hits the fan, right? When you're in the middle of it, and we'll use drinking as an example, right? What are we going to do when you get stressed? I'll ask people, like, what are your triggers? What are the things that like really make you feel like drinking? And I will help them lay out plans so that in the moment when it comes up, they don't have to think about it, right? So here's an example. Like, I was working with someone the other day and they were talking about the idea of going out with friends. Obviously, this is a time of year when going out with friends is happening a lot, right? A lot. And so I asked the question, what are you going to do when you're going out with friends and you feel triggered? And we spent time and we came up with ideas. And we came up with ideas that are going to, that they can actively use in the moment, right? And so what was nice about it is we weren't in the moment. And so we could have a conversation. What about this? What about that? Oh, that doesn't work. I don't like that, right? We can go back and forth. We can do all of that. And there's no pressure because we don't have to come up with something because we're not in the moment. Fast forward to the moment. Now, when they get to the moment, when they're standing in that Christmas party, when they're standing at the outing they were talking about, they already have it pre-selected. And so the only thing their brains have to do is just engage, right? Is just like do the plan, follow the plan. It's already laid out in front of them. This is such a massive relief when it comes to any sort of change because, and if you're listening to this, chances are you know what it feels like, no matter what it is for you. This is another thing that's really common with food. But like when these emotional conditions come up, it seems like all we can think about is going in this certain direction, right? With food or drinking or whatever it might be. And so when you let yourself plan, you can just let yourself execute that plan in the moment. And it's so much easier because the amount of brain space that these cravings can take up is tremendous, right? And so that's why this time of year is so great because there's a lot of this stuff, right? There's a lot of the things that trigger us and they tend to be pretty acute at this time of year. So take some time and think about that. Like what is the stuff that are your triggers, that are the things that might set you on a path you don't want to be on, and what can you do about it? Take a few minutes to write it down. This is such a great opportunity because during this time frame, there are so many opportunities to be triggered that we can investigate this in a very low pressure way, right? Because you haven't made the change yet. You're just looking at what that could mean, right? So that's sort of one piece of projection. The other piece of projection is that this time of year is also a time that we feel really good, right? This is a time of year where we feel a lot of love. We feel a lot of connection. We feel whatever it might be for you. And so I also want you to look at that. And I also want you to think about, wow, how am I going to carry this with me into the new year? Right? So maybe it is a feeling of connection. That's a big one, right? How am I going to continue to feel connected? How am I going to continue to talk to people or address people or engage with people, right? How am I going to continue to feel, maybe you feel peaceful, maybe you feel relaxed, right? Whatever it is for you, think about those feelings and think about how you can foster that after the new year. All of this stuff and projecting out into the future, yes, it is all thought. It is all stuff that is not real, right? We're creating the scenarios in our mind, but by doing this and rehearsing it and thinking about it, we can have a much better idea of what is happening in our world. We can have a much better idea of what to do down the road when we either encounter these situations that are triggers, or when we're at a place where like, hey, I want to like cultivate more of this in my life. This is an incredibly powerful time of year for projection, right? Taking the way you're feeling, projecting it forward and figuring out, okay, like how do I deal with this in the future? Again, it is before we've made the change we're going to make, right? Most people this time of year definitely wait till Jan 1. So you don't have to do anything now, but it can be so incredibly powerful to just take this and run with it, right? To just take this, project yourself forward, imagine this stuff, start doing that thinking based on what's happening right now. It can make a massive difference when you actually get to that point in January. All right. Well, there you have it. That is part 4, projection. Tell me what you think. Head on over to scottpiniard.com/podcast. Over there, I have a place where you can suggest topics for me. You can send me notes. You can submit questions, right? All of that stuff. I would absolutely love to hear from you. So it's scottpiniard.com/podcast. That is it for me, and I will be back again next week.